Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here on An Cluiche with me, Seamus Brady, your host. This is another interview on the channel. Delighted to be joined by Therese Scott, a Monaghan GA legend, also known as Therese McNally. This is interview number 11 here on the channel. Therese, proud Monaghan woman. I'd say you're happy after the weekend's action there, Monaghan getting into the All-Ireland semi-finals again, this time up against the Dubs. How are you feeling?
It's great buzz around Monaghan at the minute, and it's great to be a Monaghan supporter or a Monaghan, player because I know maybe we're not going in as favourites, but us people here in Monaghan, we believe that we can do it on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it past you. I mean, definitely any game that Monaghan have been in this year has not been boring. I mean, you think back to the start of the year, to Tyrone game, you look at the Armagh game, the Armagh one as well. How many times we is down and out and then
Yeah,
managed to find a way?
they come back every time, and that's one thing about this Monaghan team. They don't give up, and they're going to give it all on Sunday, and I know they are, and I'm really excited about this weekend.
Yeah, and the penalty shootout. Did you have a front row seat?
Well, I actually, unfortunately, had to watch it here from home because of family circumstances, but it was hard to watch, to be honest. I was watching it behind me, behind my hand. And fair play to the boys, like, you know what I mean, to step up, them boys, to any boys to step up, like, you know what I mean, it can't be easy.
Oh, stop. And for Armagh now, that's 3 out of their last 4 championship defeats have been on penalties. Like, that's just remarkable. If Kieran McGeeney had won all of his penalty shootouts, he would have an Ulster medal and 2 All-Ireland semi-final appearances at least.
Yeah,
Three penalty shootouts change that around.
yeah.
We're going to go jump into your career then. We're going to run through kind of highlights, big moments that you had in your career, starting obviously way back when you were Sweet 16, coming on
Yeah.
in that All Ireland final in 2002. Just talk to me about that. I mean, number one, you were coming on against a Mayo team that had the likes of Cora Staunton. I mean, that in itself is crazy that you were 16 playing against a player like her. But that day coming on, what was the emotions like?
Well, as you say, I was 16, and I've done an art and an interview in this before, and my experience, like, if anyone done it nowadays, you'd be kind of giving out them. That day, I was just so delighted to be in an All Ireland final. I was very immature. We had stopped in Sliane to get our breakfast. I ended up going into the wee shop beside the hotel to get a disposable camera. And I now have a box up in the attic of pictures of us on the bus inside Croke Park. I actually have photos of our supporters that day, all the Monaghan supporters. We went out onto the pitch before, the intermediate, or I think it was the junior final that was playing that time. So I took my disposable camera out. So instead of me thinking or realising that I was in an All-Ireland final, I was snapping away. I don't think any of the older girls, maybe they did, like the likes of Jenny Green and Brenda McInnesby, Niamh Kinlan. I'd say if they had maybe seen me with it, they probably would have said, put that away. But it was just, to me, I thought, this is just something I'm going to be at for the rest of my life. This is where, you know what I mean? I was so lucky, first year in the county team, to get to an All-Ireland final. It was just, looking back on it now, I obviously didn't realise what it was. Well, I did realise what it was, but I didn't go into it thinking. I knew I wasn't starting. My sister Una was on the team at the same time. So it was just, I was just delighted that I was there and that the crowd, even going into Croke Park, there was just the bus journey in, we got the Garda escort. Like, that more sticks out in my mind than actually going on, and I came on the sub in the second half, and I was just delighted that I was getting on, you know what I mean? And looking back on it now, no one would do it nowadays. It just wouldn't be done.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely right about that. I don't think that we'll ever see an era like that again. I mean, you had Lindsay Davey making her debut for Dublin at 15 years of age. The standard has gone through the roof, so I don't think we'll be seeing girls getting into the team until they are now 18, 19 at the very least. But yeah, like you mentioned there as well, you were walking into a serious Monaghan team, a Monaghan team that had won 2 All-Irelands in the 90s. a Monaghan team that I'm sure had set ways. Did you break any of those ways? Did you ever accidentally sit in somebody's seat? Did you ever accidentally sit in somebody's seat on the bus? Or how did
Oh,
you find settling into that team?
well, you see, my father would have been involved in managing teams down through the years. So there's myself and my sister Grania, and then there's the two McAnespie twins, Aoife and Ciara, their mother played in the team. So we would have always been at the training. Mickey Morgan was the manager at the time. He was very, very close to the McAnespies too. So I would have been at training all the time. I was the water girl, you know what I mean? So when he rang me that year to see would I come and actually train to play, I was kind of used to maybe kicking the balls out, but no, the likes of, as I mentioned, Jenny Green and Niamh Kinlan, the list, Adele Burns, like I just looked up to them players and I just wanted to be like them. So no, they're always from the beginning just were so accepted me on the team and they wanted me there as much as I wanted to be there.
Yeah, and another thing obviously that happened right in that year, of course, reading up on the articles before this, the All Ireland Junior final. And of course, with your pretty much your whole family on the field by the sounds of it from the report. Just surely that day has to stick out being just one of the most special games you've played. I mean, your mother Eileen in goal, your
Yeah.
sister's playing alongside you, and you were victorious.
Yeah, well, people talk about GAA, about family. It's such a family sport. Like, so it'll nothing that that down through the years will top that. So in 2002, my home club, Tia Holland, we reached the All Ireland final that year. Daddy was the manager, and my mother was in goals, and my four sisters and myself, the five of us, all played on the pitch that day. And it's just a moment in my football career that'll just stay with me, and my whole family for the rest of our lives.
Oh, without doubt. And I mean, you can see it in the emotion on any player. Once they finally win something with their club, it's a smile like that they've never had before. Like Colin Cooper winning with Dr. Crokes is always the one that I will point at. Like he has four All Ireland medals, and when he finally won it with Dr. Crokes, it was more emotional than I'd ever seen him. But like, so you were part of basically the new crop into the team. You were coming into the side, later followed by the McAnespie twins, as you
Yeah,
said.
yeah,
6 years later, you're now an established member of that Monaghan side. Now, you had been dominant in Ulster across the 2000s, scooping up Ulster titles left, right, and centre. But obviously, the big one was to go on from here and win the All Ireland. Now, another team that was emerging at this time was probably the best team that we've ever seen. That
mm-hmm.
Cork team. I mean, that Cork team genuinely haven't seen anything like it. I don't think we will ever see anything like it
No,
since. You first crossed over them in 2008 in the final. That was the
yeah.
first time you met them in the final. Just what was your memories of that day coming up against the likes of Valerie Mulcahy, Rena Buckley, Breach Stack, Breach Corkery?
Yeah, um, like as you say, they're a team. Like I do believe that Monaghan team that we had was a great team, but we were just so unlucky with that team. We hit an awesome Cork team. Like they were just unbelievable. And like as you mentioned, the McAnespies there, we still had Niamh Kinlan, Christina Riley, and the Courtneys. That there was a couple there from Donaghmore. Like that was our Monaghan team we had that time was such a good team. But the Cork team, it just as I said, and my husband said, we were just so unlucky to meet them at the time we met them. But Breach Dax, Breach Corkery, Geraldine Flynn, like it goes on and on. Juliet, can't even think of her second name now. Juliet
Murphy.
Murphy. Yeah, Juliet Murphy. They were just. But we met them in 2008, and I think a lot of the girls, apart from myself maybe, and Christina Riley and Niamh Kinlan and a few others, we had a whole new set of girls coming to play in Croke Park. Experience what I experienced in 2002. So we would have played our league or all our championship games in front of a small family, probably. It was just all our parents or a few, aunties and uncles. So you're playing your games in a situation where if the management shouts something on, you'll hear them, and then you go to Croke Park in 2008, it was for a lot of the girls, as you say, the McAnespies, there was young girls coming on the team. that day our manager was trying to get stuff on the line. We couldn't hear anything, and then a couple of goals within, and our heads just dropped, and we just totally lost the run of ourselves. Do you
Well, like
know?
that's another thing that we were talking about, something that has changed rapidly. If you look at the attendance levels at the finals, like they
Mm-hmm.
have gone through the roof from when you started playing. Like the final attendance in 1999 was 15,000 people.
Yeah.
The final attendance in 2019 was 56,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so the noise levels just definitely went through the roof over that period of time. And the
Yeah.
Cork team, the Monaghan team, the Dublin team was crucial in that, because the
Yeah.
Cork team was like this. I don't know how good he could be. It's like a dominant champion in boxing or something that everyone just can't wait. Can somebody finally take these guys out? And
Yeah.
they were untouched. Like, for example, like just to summarize, if anyone listen, they won 11 All Ireland titles in 12 years.
Yeah.
Like a dynasty like that is, don't think we'll ever see it again.
No, no, and there was no team at that time. I don't care in any other sport were as good as the Cork team.
Yeah, no, without doubt. I mean, you have to think about it. Like Valerie Mulcahy in that final
Mm.
in 2008, she hit 3-2,
Yeah.
like in an All Ireland final. Just ridiculous. The next year then that I want to bring you to probably is the year, one of the years that you were definitely at your best, 2011. So
Yeah.
you obviously had claimed the league title in 2010.
Yeah.
You then reclaimed the Ulster Crown in 2010, won it again in 2011, pushed on to reach the All Ireland final once again, where predictably ran into Cork again.
Yeah.
Did you feel more confident going into it this time than 08?
Yeah, well, we knew like the league, and that's one game that it'll stick out in my mind for as long as that league final that we beat them in 2010. Now, did we do a good thing to ourselves by beating them? Maybe not, because Cork, I think, then took it up another level. We thought, right, we had them. We didn't get the final in 2010, but when we got to them in 2011, after playing them in the league, we thought, right, okay, we can beat these, and we know we can. And we went out again. We'd met them in a few league games and stuff like that, and I think we had beaten them, and we were like, right, but it was nearly, I don't know, by beating them, did we do ourselves, more harm than good? But in 2011, we actually were doing, you know what I mean? What was it? We were 3 points did we lose by that day? Every time we seemed to come near them, they would up it again, and we just couldn't, towards the end, we just couldn't seem to just go ahead of them that day.
Yeah, I mean, like, it was just, it must have been so heartbreaking, like being there and just this one team is just constantly just that good. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, and on a personal note for yourself, obviously that year as well, you won an All Star. It just
Yeah.
taught me through that when you heard your name being called out, did you think you were going to win an All Star low key, or was it a surprise?
I actually didn't know, because I think that was maybe my third or fourth All Star nominee, and I personally thought the year before I was, this has had my year, because I honestly believe in 2010 was maybe my better year, but and then I didn't get one that year, so in 2011 I was thinking, God, you just don't know, but to be nominated every year, I just was kind of more, you know what I mean? I knew ladies football was in the rise, and there was so many good footballers out there. My position wouldn't have always been an easy position, because there's so many good forwards. So when I did get it, it was very good, because my sister Grania had got one just before that. She was named in the defence, so it was just a proud moment. The fact that she had got one and then I got one, yeah, you know what I mean? It's nice to get, but at the same time, I know everyone says this, but you're not there for doing it for the All Stars, or for, because there's so many other girls that have put in the same effort in your own county that deservedly should be there, or maybe should have got one, so, but it was just nice to get it.
Oh, for sure. Like, I mean, I can't imagine what that would feel like getting an All Star. Must be a pretty sick feeling. But we were talking about dynasties. Use yourselves had a dynasty up the north in the Ulster Championship. Like, you were absolutely not only winning, but like looking at it here, he's won the Division One league title in 2012. Then you beat Donegal out the gate, 5-25 to a goal and 8 in the final. Like in a provincial final, and seeing how good Donegal have got since, with the likes of obviously Katie Hare and Karen Guthrie, the McLaughlins, Yvonne Bonnet, at the time they couldn't get near you.
No, but like I said, like we had such a good team that time. Like I'm naming them off the head, but like the Courtneys, they're such hard work, and they're a group of sisters like ourselves. Such hard working girls. We had Amanda Casey there, like the Nakin, and there was really a core of girls there, and we had put in so much. You know what I mean? Time and effort. You know what I mean? There was a great bunch of core girls there that we had for a couple of years. There were, you know what I mean, it was probably the likes of, you said, Donegal and that. There were good teams, but there was just something special about that team too. That, you know what I mean, and we all stuck together for a couple of years, because we were kind of at that age group where maybe we weren't we maybe were at colleges and stuff like that, but we weren't at the stages of maybe getting married or having children. So there was a good group of years there that we stuck together, and we had a good click.
Mm-hmm. And were the Ulster titles in any way, like we see it, for example, there with the way that James McCarthy lifted the Leinster Cup for Dublin, where he literally just took it and put it back down. No emotion. Were you so focused on winning the All Ireland that sometimes it took away from the Ulsters, or was every Ulster invaluable?
Oh no, every Ulster was valuable. Like we our first target was always Ulster. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the team before us, as you say, like that team that I came off on the edge of 2002, they had set such a high standard that we nearly wanted to keep that going. So, you didn't want to be kind of, the group to kind of, but I felt, you just kind of wanted to keep that standard up there, you know what I mean? Because I thought so much of them girls. I grew up following them girls that I didn't nearly want to, let them down, that, you just wanted to win Ulster first.
Yeah, without doubt. And you won it again in 2013, and this was the one for me. This is the one where I thought it's between 2013 and 2016 where I thought you were at your best. 2013 on paper, if you're looking at it, is definitely the one where you came the closest. You scorched through Ulster. Gregory McGonigal at manager, I said, butchered that name. Gregory McGonigal as the manager.
Yeah.
You were captain that year. You hammered Laois in the quarterfinal, beat Galway in the semi-final. Cork came up again in the final, and you lost by 1 point. Valerie Mulcahy again with 1-4.
Yeah. And we were, I think 10 minutes ago, we were up. Was it by 2 points? And it just goes to show you, Cork, like they never give up. They never give up hope, and they just kept going to the end and got it back to, they went a point ahead, and we got a free, the last kick of the game, Katrina McConnell, and it was the Pooja had gone, and it wasn't a scoreable free, but Teenie McConnell, she was, some free taker, then she left, it was her side, the left foot, and it either had to go over, but that was it, and unfortunately it did drop short or just drop side, and that was it, we lost them again by a point, and that was just a moment that I thought, what am I doing here? Like, why? You know what I mean? That was really kind of the moment that you thought, oh God, we can't do this anymore.
Yeah, and did it ever get to that stage? A serious question, was it ever a stage of that you thought maybe to go and do something else with your life and that type of thing, to go abroad, go traveling? Did those temptations ever come in, especially on days where you put everything into it and it didn't go the way that you would have wanted it to?
Yeah, no, definitely after that All-Ireland final, I thought to myself, now to go travelling or something like that, I'm a home board, so it wouldn't have been, but maybe to try something different or maybe just to take a break. I kind of did. But then after a few weeks off of that, and when football starts back up, I just realised, yes, football, you're there and, you do it because you want to win and wanted to win All Ireland. But it was a big part of me. My friends all were football, my teammates, were all football. And I missed it. There was just, and then there was always, obviously we didn't give up hope then. We were I'd got married, but we were still kind of going one more year, you know what I mean? But it just was, at that stage, there might a few girls did go off for travelling, and, we were kind of missing Neve Kinlan, I think Christina Riley, they had, done their time and stuff like that. So we lost players, and it just was kind of at that stage. But we still, tried after that. But it's just, it was a big part of me, and I didn't really want to do anything else.
Well, that's it. Like from everything talking to you beforehand, it does seem like you're just one of those people that just loves playing Gaelic football. And it's like me personally, like I've played Gaelic football all my life, and I've taken years out. And it's one of those things where I remember I spoke to one of my good friends in college who's mad about GA, and I asked him like, do you ever not want to play? And this was during the time where I'd taken a year out. And I said, do you ever, just not want to play again? And he just was like, no.
Yeah.
And I was like, see, that's the difference between me and you. That's so, and I think you're cut from the same cloth as him. That whether it was a game for Monaghan or whether it was a junior B game,
Yeah.
you were there.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I would have missed other stuff because of football. I would have changed jobs if, and that's maybe something where my parents would have been, you got a part-time job, and we might have had, like, say, from my club to Holland here, that small numbers, and they're not letting me off work, and mommy and dad be like, right, you're not going back, you'll get another one, you'll be fine, you know what I mean? That's just the way it kind of was, and, there's no harm in that either.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. And yeah, so then bringing it back to 2013, obviously, we're talking about the year that, you were captain. On top of that, you were in Ireland's Fittest Families. I know it aired in 2014, but how did you balance those two? And you made the final.
Yeah, we made the final, and Gregory knew about it that year, but I'm not, he wouldn't have known, and we didn't think at the time it would be as tough as it was, but God, I don't know, you wouldn't get away with it nowadays, but it was, we got through the final, so I think there might have been 6 days out in total, but I remember it was at the time we played Galway in the semi-final. We were actually filmed the semi-final the night before we played at Galway in the All-Ireland semi-final, and I remember I got a big massive bruise in my leg, and we were just weren't home. It was in Connemara. It was filmed in Connemara. We were leaving Cloughan the next morning, I think about 10 o'clock. We weren't home till about 12 or 1 o'clock that night. Up the next day to go and play Galway. But I suppose we were young. Me and Grania were young at the time. No families, Dalian would have done all the driving and stuff like that. So I think it nearly took our minds off it at the same time too. I think that's why maybe we kind of did maybe go out and play, well enough, or played good, because we were focusing on that and then having to focus on the game, So it just kind of, I wouldn't be fit to do it now, and I don't know if anyone would, but yeah, we done it that year, and it was madness.
Yeah, without doubt. And then speaking of different focuses, 2015, then the next stop I'll bring you to, you became pregnant and had your first child. Now,
Yeah.
talk to me about this part of your life. Watching, obviously, you were watching from the sidelines. It wasn't the Brenda McInnesby situation where you were playing while pregnant. You were sitting away watching. But yeah, talk to me about this period of your life.
Yeah, so I had got married and that, and then I came pregnant with Isla. And then there was another girl in the team, Manda Casey. Me and her be very close. She was pregnant with her second child, and I think we went to Monaghan. We're playing Cavan, and she had Ted before me, and then I had Isla, and we took them to the game. And we were sitting that day, and she's like, "Are you gonna go back?" And I was like, "Oh, what are you gonna do?" And she's like, "Kind of miss it." So the two of us then kind of that day we decided, so we'll try again, like, you know what I mean, because we did, you know what I mean, I went and had a child. It was off on maternity leave. Some of the evenings you'd like to get out and do something, so we said we'd give it a shot, and we both of us went back, after having our children, and I was just delighted to get back and to, be where, with all my friends again.
No, for sure. And then the birth and everything as well, you did come back. And how did you feel coming back, physically, mentally, emotionally? Did you feel ready to come back?
looking back on it now, you know what I mean? I probably should have maybe kind of got a bit more advice. Now, as I say, from having Isla to having my third child, there's actually more help out there to actually checks that you can get done. But we just went back by running, thinking we'll go with our own body, how it feels, and went back. And it was harder, definitely harder. Like, it wasn't easy. And you were kind of going out lasting 10 minutes, and then you get to 15 minutes, lasting a game maybe for a half and that. So it definitely took longer. And but we did get back. And yeah, no, it was hard. It was a tough journey, because not only were you going to football games where you just had to think about yourself, you're now having to think about if you were having to get somebody to mind, you had a baby bag to get ready and a football bag to get ready. So it was a lot more, organisation had to be done.
For sure. I can't even imagine the level of organisation that it would take. You came back in then, along with Amanda, into a class Monaghan team. 2016, you reclaimed the Ulster title when you came back, and
Yeah.
the Ulster landscape had changed a lot over the
Yeah.
previous years. So Donegal had come hugely strong. They'd won Ulster. Armagh had got the likes of Amy Mackin in, and
Yeah.
Mackin is genuinely, I think, you could argue the best player in the country right now. Like, the landscape had changed a lot, and you've reclaimed it in 2016. You've put yourselves back on the top of the mountain. Was that the most satisfying Ulster title?
Yeah, and I think it was a more rewarding one, because, like that, as you said, we knew Armagh and Donegal had taken up the level and they'd beaten us and stuff like that. But to come back after having a child, and to be part of that team that day and to have a big part in it, it probably was my sweetest one yet.
For sure. And you had mentioned as well earlier in the interview about all the legends that had left the team, like the Niamh Kinlans.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel your role becoming more and more significant in the team? Like, did you feel yourself becoming a captain, becoming a leader as those players started to drop out of the team?
Oh yeah, well, like, you know what I mean, would have been one of the, myself, like, as you say, Amanda Casey there, she was always a great role model or leader, Sharon Courtney. So there was still a good few group of girls there that we would have, I don't think we would have like nearly shared it, or we would have, you know what I mean, there was still, the likes of them girls, my sister Grania, they were all mature girls too. So we would have shared it, and we wouldn't have, kind of put it on anyone else. But yeah, we would have all accepted it and stepped up to maybe doing, taking a bit of leadership. It takes everyone, you need everyone to have leadership, even some of the subs, we would have had girls on the sideline that maybe, were probably good enough to start and that, but also, had a good eye for the game too, that would have been also helping on the sideline for, advice or, stuff like that.
For sure. And is it even sweeter that it was Cavan that you beat in the final, local rival and everything like that?
Yeah, and funny that year, Cavan had a great team.
They took out Donegal in the semi-final.
Yeah, when they were going for it, and I think we had met them earlier on in Cavan, and it was very close that day. Might have, you know what I mean, or we had met them. Can't remember what it was, but we were nervous enough about going into it because, or maybe they had beaten us or something. So, but yeah, it was sweet that it was Cavan, but it was just sweet that it was another Ulster title.
Yeah, no, for sure. 2018, it came again. Donegal absolutely, rinsed through Ulster. They beat Armagh 9-21 to 4-8 in the Ulster final, just to show the levels that they had gotten to. So the fact that you put yourselves above them was something else. And then 2018 is the year where you became pregnant again in the latter stages, wasn't it? Winter 2018 into 2019.
Yeah, so that was the year that I had my third child. So it probably between that and then I had Julia, my youngest, that year. So at that stage, I wasn't going back.
Were you confident, more confident, going through it this time than you were the previous two times?
More confident in not going back? Or
more confident in going through the whole pregnancy process?
Oh yeah, I would have been more confident, and afterwards I would have sought more medical help about, going back before I actually went back out onto the pitch. Yeah.
Yeah, but you did go back, if I'm correct. You did play a couple of games. You were enticed into returning. Did Was that genuinely just someone twisted your arm, or
Yeah, well,
did you
like,
always have an idea that you were going to go back?
no, I honestly, after having Julia, I didn't, I wasn't going to go back because home life here was crazy and busy. And I remember it was kind of the evenings, the days were long, but the evenings were longer. And my sister Grania and the likes of Ellen McCarran and Nicola Fahakier and Aoife McAnespy, girls we very close with, would be talking to them regular, and they were out kind of training away, and I was thinking, oh, I'm going to come home one night, and she was talking about it, and I was like, oh, I miss it so much. And then I think she mentioned it to Kieran, her manager at the time, and then he gave me a phone call here, and I was like, listen, I at that stage I didn't know if I would be even fit enough to kind of play a county, or if it would be good enough, you know what I mean, any good to them. So I said I'd come back and give it a go, and yeah, I was glad I did.
Yeah, and you mentioned how life was getting crazy, so you came back at the start of 2020, played a couple of league games. Then we all know what happened, big bad pandemic.
Yeah,
And just talk about that period. So you've three young kids in the house. All of a sudden, everything shuts down.
yeah.
Like, what was home life like at the time? What did they make it the whole thing?
So I was lucky that I had actually just went back to work after 6 months after having Julia. So I was only back to work 2 weeks, and them 2 weeks were crazy because I had gone back to county. So working and then football and the three kids, it was like, oh. So when lockdown came in at the beginning, I thought, oh, this is great, because I didn't think that maybe football was going to be all shut down, but it was. And I was actually lucky to be part of the county team that time too, because then when it did all shut down, we as a county team got together and we done a bit of a fundraiser for a local group here. So we were doing, I can't even remember, but it was like 30 miles or something in 30 days or something like that there. So we kind of had to every day. So each day here at a certain time, I had to do a certain amount of Ks. So I would put the three children into the pram. I had a pram that they all fitted into, and we would walk the roads. So only for that, I'd say I probably would have found lockdown a lot tougher.
Oh yeah, it was definitely a strange time to be alive anyway. And yeah, just so then you were retired then for good. Like, did you ever think the day would come? And how do you feel now going to watch Monaghan games, knowing that, you know, you're playing you're a club player now?
I've played, obviously I'm playing with my club, and last year we got to the club final. We played Dunamine, who went for 20 in a row, and I think I've played in about maybe 15 of them finals. It's a bit like the Cork team. We've just hit a brilliant Dunamine team that just keep coming back and back every year, and we seem to be the team that keeps meeting them every year in the county final, and we just can't beat them. But last year, I was happy enough getting back to club, and we played with a lot of club games. There was the league and then the championship. So I kind of feel from a county at the minute that it's hard seeing them. We're kind of going through transition here in Monaghan at the minute, down intermediate. So it's kind of hard seeing the girls, you know what I mean? They had a small panel this year of maybe 20, 21 girls, and they had a change of management in between. So it's hard because some of them young girls would have been coming into team there towards the end, and they're great characters and stuff like that. So it's tough, watching their games. Maybe no one, not saying, but thinking, oh God, if maybe it was in corner forward there, could you help them out? Or I probably wouldn't now at this stage. Like, I'm nearly 38 years of age, but it's tough seeing that at the minute.
Ah, yeah, but it comes for pretty much every team, this transition phase. And look, being in the intermediate championship, personally, I think it's the best championship structure there is, senior, intermediate, junior, because
Oh yeah.
we have the Tailteann Cup on the men's side, and there's teams in that Tailteann Cup that will never win the Tailteann Cup. Like,
Yeah.
there's Meath and Down are two. Like, all you have to do is watch the Down Leash semi final to get an inkling of the separation between the teams in that competition. But intermediate, the perfect example, of course, is Meath. That one intermediate went up and then won back-to-back seniors. So that could be in the future for Monaghan, and indeed any
Oh
team
yeah,
that
no,
comes
it
from
is.
the intermediate
Yeah,
championship. They're
yeah,
getting an opportunity now to build their strength in that championship before they go up. And maybe the fact that they didn't go up this year could actually suit them, because there is such a thing as going up too soon.
yeah,
You look at what happened. Meath in the football and the men's side, they went up too soon to Division One, got smoked 7 times, sent back down with their
yeah,
tail between their legs. Well,
yeah,
I think if Monaghan do go up, they'll be ready for it. And
yeah. When they do,
before,
there's a
go
good
ahead.
team coming up there too, hopefully. So through time it will. And like when I look back from 2002 to 2008, um, we did struggle a lot in Monaghan. We've been trying to get teams or girls out. You know what I mean? There would have been times. I was in this position before. There would have been, especially earlier after 2008, when a lot of them girls did to retire, Jenny Green and the likes of them, and Brenda McInnesby. We went through a transition like this too. So hopefully,
Yeah, no, it definitely will be back in the future as well. I have two last questions for you before we wrap up. So, out of all the games we've talked about, out of all the finals, the Ulster finals, if you could just go back and relive one of them, which one would you pick?
go back and relive one of them. Oh God. It'd probably be the Junior All Ireland final, like just what we experienced that day, winning it, and then even the experience when we came home that night, the whole of our club to Holland, it's such a small parish, like it just was, a day and a night that will just stick with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah, very good choice. Yeah, and my final question to you then is: we are now on the precipice of a cracking weekend on fixtures in the football championship. Like, you've got quarterfinals there. You've got Galway Mayo, a rematch
Yeah.
of the Connacht final. You've got obviously the big one. The big one is the obvious one for me. Kerry are playing Meath in a
Me.
rematch of the All Ireland final, and I actually, the crazy thing is that on first glance I actually quite fancy Kerry to take out the champions. Meath, no, look, Donegal beat them in Port Talton there
Yeah.
couple of weekends ago, and now going away to a Kerry side that has Louise Moore-Hertig in top form as usual. It's
Yeah.
really dangerous for one for them.
Yeah, I in that game, for some reason, I think Kerry will beat me. Maybe not, you know what I mean. But I honestly think Kerry are going to beat me at the weekend.
Yeah, it's definitely a dangerous one. Then the other fixtures as well, of course, we've Dublin, Donegal, and
Yeah,
Armagh Cork. Armagh Cork would be a cracker of a game. We were just
yeah,
talking about Armagh's forwards. You've got Amy Mackin and Aoife McCoy and Kelly Mallon on one
yeah,
side. Then you've got the O'Sullivans and
yeah,
Orla Cahalan on the other side. Like,
yeah,
it's teed up to be a cracking game.
yeah. No, it's this weekend, the football. You know what I mean. The four semi final or quarterfinals, like it's just going to be. I don't know. It's a close one to call. I honestly like have four teams there that I just don't know who is gonna, you know what I mean, that I think that will kind of a 40 will. But then Armagh and Cork are playing one another, so it's too hard to call.
Yeah,
Uh,
and if you were to place a bit of money on it, I've said at the start of the year that I fancied Kerry to take it. I said I quite liked their balance. I was very impressed with how they came to Parnell Park and beat Dublin.
yeah,
Just for
yeah,
them, it's the question of can they beat Cork, because they haven't done that yet.
no, yeah, but I think Kerry are in a better place than they would have been last year, and then getting to the All Ireland final would have helped them, and then beating me there, a couple of weeks ago. I do think I fancy Kerry this year.
Okay, well, my prediction
But
must be correct. So,
I hope one
yeah,
of the other teams, though, are Donegal. I'd like to see, but I do think Kerry are in a good position this year, and I'm going to go with Kerry.
oh yeah, trust me, sir. I'm from Dublin, and I'm picking Kerry to win the All Ireland. Like, what's going
Well,
on?
maybe Stephen Grania had this conversation. She was here last night, and she's like, "Oh, I think Dublin." She's like, "I just watching a few games." She says, "Just Dublin. I wouldn't write them off yet." So, but I don't know what Donegal will give them a good game at the weekend. Like, so it's just too hard to call.
I'm nervous about the Donegal one. The fact that they beat me away from home.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
tricky one, and
Based on,
they've had our number in the past.
yeah, with the Ulster final too, like, you know what I mean?
They beat us
Donegal.
last year, correct? They beat us last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, this is dangerous.
Close, close one to call.
Big time. But yeah, anyway, Therese, that's all my questions wrapped up. Thank you so much for coming
No,
on to
thank.
this interview with me today.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem.